Oh, I don't have the background.
Denise, Adriana, Heaven, Luis, Marcio, Heaven.
Missing Luis. Who else? Oh, Luis is there, sorry.
Okay.
We're missing Matt.
That's
Lucas. Lucas is there.
Did you guys enjoy the challenge, the project? You guys had fun?
Whoa, a lot. I'm still having fun, actually.
Yesterday was quite fun. It's a shame that you guys haven't done the same as yesterday to all other days.
I thought we weren't gonna sleep last night. We were lucky.
I wasn't going to sleep if we couldn't crack that.
I went to bed 4 a.m.
Jeez.
Oh my God. Our group had fun. we're still pushing anyway.
Yes.
Adriana, thanks. All good. I think just waiting on Matt. Where is he?
Yeah.
I think I sent him a message.
But maybe he's making a sanga.
We work so hard.
Are you guys happy with the overall?
No,
I would say our team.
I didn't finish actually.
Yeah, our team didn't have it running. There were some issues, so we are not. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be good to have a little bit more, more time. I think it was enough time, but maybe it started earlier, just to have some time to play with the whole application together, because I didn't have time to do it myself and link things together. I just run the script that Heaven created for us, putting everything together. So this is the outcome that I would like to do myself. I had this opportunity, but I didn't have time to finish it myself, to put all the pieces together. But Heaven did it, so it was good for the team. But for myself, I just did one of those pieces, like few pieces of this whole project. But I would like to review everything piece by piece and do it myself, connecting everything to see how it works in a whole thing, in a whole project. If that makes sense.
I think we can get started. Let's try to do some sort of stand-up, so we just get a feeling from each one of you individual before jumping to the presentations. What you guys have done over those 2 weeks, and a little bit as Karine just mentioned about the project as well. If I'll get on my list here. Maybe Lucas, if you want to go next.
Yeah, so start the presentation?
No, just say stand up.
Just stand up, sorry. So yeah, we spent a lot of time on the project. this past weeks. I did some exercise to try understand a little bit of the project as well, especially the make file and Three Musketeer. So I think the exercise helped me a little bit on the project. But we spend more most of the time just doing the project. We did, I think we did in a good way, like with separating modules, the Terraform script. So I think everyone could do a little bit and understand the integration of each module to the whole project as well. And yeah, that's it.
Cool. Gonna go next, Christina. And when you finish, you call someone else.
Okay. Hi. Yeah, this past few weeks, I think I learned a lot. Yeah, well, and also not just that, but also how to work in a project along with other people. Yeah, that's all. Denise, Denise, would you?
Sure. How can I start? Yeah, it was hard work. So the last 4 weeks, a lot of time dedicated to the project. And I was going to say, similar to Karini, is that the first 2 weeks we didn't get much done. I didn't have much done because we are lacking some more structured, I wouldn't say guidance, but yeah, more knowing exactly what we needed to do. So it wasn't until you guys came up with exactly the list of our steps that things start to get going. So we actually felt, I think we were having a meeting just before the class, that we felt if we had started like that on the very first week, then we might have been able to get more accomplished. We felt we did most of the project within the last 2 weeks, really. Yeah, lesson learned. Still need to link all the dots together for me. Yeah.
That's a very good feedback. We had the same feeling, and we expect you guys to tell us like what is missing and what we can improve to. So we at first we thought that we could ask you guys to get together and try to come up with the tasks, but maybe it wasn't enough knowledge to understand what was actually needed to be done. It's a learning for everyone, but thanks for the feedback.
Cool. With Adriana, there you go, my teammate.
So I really liked the project. Like I could improve a lot of my knowledge about Terraform and also AWS. And we just finished still struggling actually with the connections. So we need to now find a way to connect all the resources. But in summary, I think Denise already mentioned everything. I'll go with Marcio Anatriello.
Yep. Yeah, for me, I guess you guys with that project make the course and put the course in a completely other level. Like that challenger put myself out of my comfort zone, and actually my team have been helped me a lot with that. But so nice, guys, so nice. For me, it's a good learning. Of course, I believe I do not have all the knowledge which I need to deploy those things properly, but I believe we deployed a good result, and it is a very good experience for me. Thank you for that. Luis?
Hi. Yeah, like Marcio said, It's been good. Was good to work as a team. Was a little bit challenging, but was good in the overall. I think in the end, we did a good work, I think. And maybe if you had more time, or like Denise said, if we had the tasks defined right in the beginning, we could achieve much more. Yep, I'm gonna call Márcio Faria now.
Hey guys, good evening. So for me, it was amazing experience. It was something that I asked at the beginning of the course for Kik. We would have something like that, a project to, real life experience that you have in your real life was amazing. The problem for me was I didn't have enough time because of personal commitments. So I wish I could have done more. Next, Anderson.
Yeah, the project was really good. I think it's based on like a real scenario, like something that, you know, if you go into a role, DevOps role, is something you have to do, you know, eventually. So yeah, it was a good stuff to learn a lot. And I think just one thing that I felt on this project was like, okay, you have to do this, and that, but like how to connect the points and like what you need. For example, you need like I was doing the ACS cluster, and then I was thinking about one thing, and I was getting stuck, and then I was like, Kyle, this is not working. He's like, oh, don't do like that. Do like the other way. So I think having a more like, because we're not solutions architect. So for example, for this project or maybe the next one, we could have, okay, you need these resources, you know, something more specific for us to create instead of just throw to the lions. But it was also good not to have this like chilled. So we have to research and learn a lot. But yeah, at the end, you know, it was okay. We made it work. But yeah, who is next?
Matt.
It happened.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I was feeling a little bit defeated, but it's okay. We didn't get it done. But I thought it was a great project, learning to understand how the resources interconnect, and then the recent class 5, learning how to make files work with the Docker Compose. Like, I wish I knew this bit of information 4 weeks ago, and we probably could have finished the project pretty easily. Lessons learned, probably a prioritization. I was kind of focusing on less important things when I should have been focusing more on the WordPress application. So yeah, a good project, good experience.
Happen.
Yep. I had a lot of fun, especially last night. Like the whole team was just troubleshooting from 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, I guess. And especially thanks to Kyle, right? Finally made the things happening. I think like at 12 p.m., all of us are kind of tired, but Kyle was still trying to troubleshoot. So I think that's something more important than understanding how resources working to be a good DevOps is we need to know how to troubleshoot quickly. Of course, when we think about the architecture, how a resource is working, it's not very difficult because we know how to create, for example, a RDS like in a Terraform. It's just creating a block of code. But once we wanted to connecting all the dots, when we deploy everything, it doesn't work. So what are we gonna do? I think that's more important. Like it's something that I need to learn, troubleshoot quickly, go to find the logs and find like what's going on, and then redeploy again. So that's something that I'm thinking I'm gonna learn more later. Yeah.
Thanks for the feedback, guys. We we acknowledge most of that. We've thought that you guys would be able to come up with the like the backlog tasks, but I guess that there wasn't enough knowledge on the subject to be able to come up with the ideas. A bit of feedback for you guys into that, not specific for individual projects, is that if you guys didn't know what to do, you should come up to us and ask. And that's something that you need to learn to do as well, like go and ask for help. For the first 1 or 2 weeks, we didn't get much from you guys, like asking for like what should we do or not. So don't get stuck. Normally there is someone on the team that knows what needs to be done. If it's the PO or some lead engineer, he will have more context and background of the task that needs to be done, and just go and ask. Don't try to as we keep saying since the first class, if you're spending too much time on a task, you probably should be asking for help. But again, it's first time that we are running. It's everyone is learning. We are going to improve on that based on your feedback. And let's get into the presentation so we can use our time. I'll leave with Dennis to talk about how the presentations will look like.
Thanks, Kyle. Good evening, guys. So let's get to the presentations. Let's just start with group 1, then we go to group 2 and 3. The format of the presentation is, let's have a 10-minute presentation first, where you will walk through the solution diagram, the README file, or any other documentation that you have, and the code structure, basically. So explaining how you put up the solution, how you split it, the modules, for example, or split it, the make targets for automation. Just explain the code and the solution as if we are just other DevOps guys that came to look at your solution, and we need to understand what's happening and for the first time. So yeah, a 10-minute presentation, solution diagram again, README file and other documentation, and the code structure. Then it will follow 5-10 minutes of questions. Yeah, let's try to stick to 10 or 15 minutes of questions. It depends on the discussion. If it's pretty good and everyone is learning, we can extend a little bit the discussion. All right.
Assume that we know nothing about your solution, so there's no simple explanation. Like don't avoid explaining about something because you say like, you know about that. Don't assume that we know nothing about it.
Yeah. Another thing is the solutions may take a while to deploy now. So I'd recommend, if you don't have the solution already running, you can just start a new deployment right now. We're not going to check specifically if the code is deployed exactly as it is or anything like that. So just for the sake of time, you can deploy the solution and be ready to show it running or up to the point that you could get it delivered, any resource that's running that you created. All right, so let's get started with group 1. Another thing, one last thing, that would be good if all 4 team members or 3 team members can present part of the solution. So we have at least solution diagram, documentation, and code structure. So try to split it a little bit so everyone can talk a little bit about the solution, right? So group 1, who is going to start? So group 1 is Lucas, Luis, Marcio, Anatriello, and Christina. Is that right?
Yes, Hey, Mas, do you want to start with the diagram?
Yeah, if you can. Can I share my screen here?
Yes. Yeah, you can share the screen from just one team member, and he can navigate through the solution as others are explaining, or yeah, that would be better, I think, to not be switching too often between screens. So yeah, go ahead, Marcio. You can share your screen. Please, can you zoom in, please?
It's better now?
A little bit more, if you can. Yes, I think that's good. Just fitting the image in the screen if possible, or make Chrome full screen.
Yep.
Nice. Thanks, mate.
Yeah. Okay. Actually, that diagram have been changed a lot of time. We have been start with a very small solution, and during our learn and development, that stuff have been changed and get more and more improvement. It's a quite good learn for us. In our solution diagram, we have original, which is Sydney, and we have been split that solution around 3 availability zone, which we call availability zone A, B, and C. On part of our solution, we have router 5.3, and that router will send a request for our internet gateway, which will be connected to on our VPC, and we'll send that traffic to our elastic load balance. That elastic load balance is connected with both of availability zone, which is availability zone A is our master, like it's the main zone which is running at this moment, like. And that traffic will be split between both of zones. We have a Fargate solution working as a container, and we have been split that subnets to provide resource for that container between subnet A as an application and subnet A as a data. The same thing for both availability zones. And we have inside to that Fargate our ECS task, which works with WordPress. As a database, we have been deploy Aurora cluster, which is running with MySQL. And we have a EFS mount target, which is connected to our Fargate. And we have been deploy and put those files which are connected with that Fargate solution. I guess is that. And finally, we have a CloudWatch, which is connected with both availability zones to monitor and replicate that to check that if that solution is working and if everything is okay.
Okay, if you
Lucas, if you would like to continue with the README,
yeah.
or add some information.
No, you can scroll down. I think it's all good. So for this solution, we have some requirements. So if you clone the repository right now, we need to have Docker Compose, Git to clone, Bash to run some commands, AWS CLI to put your credentials, and make to run the recipes, the targets, right? So basically, the usage is to clone the repository. Then you can configure your AWS credentials if you don't have already configured. So with AWS configure, you can use profiles as well. It's already included in the code, so you get your profile. After that, you can just if you want to receive some if you want to receive alerts on your mobile via SMS, you can edit the env file and put your mobile number. But this is like an optional step. You don't need to do this to run the code. So, and finally, you can start the planning and build and deploy. So the plan is just gonna show you what's gonna create on AWS. That is basically what the diagram shows. All the resources. The build, it's gonna send an WordPress Docker image to a repository created on AWS using the ECR. And then make deploy will actually create all the resources, all the infrastructure on AWS. And after you do the make deploy, you're gonna have a DNS, the DNS of the load balance that you can access and start setting up your WordPress. If you want to do just a test, and if you want to destroy all the things that you've done, you can do make the destroy. So it's gonna remove everything that you created, and make clean to remove some artifacts that was created by the other stages. And that's it. So I think Christina or Luis, if you guys wanted to explain a little bit of the code and the structure.
Yeah, sure. So we have a few modules, and yeah, it seems to be. So we have a module for networking, EFS, many ECS, and
Hey, Christina, if you want to share your screen to show it in your IDE, for example, I think that will be easier.
Yeah. Just a moment. Okay. Sorry. Can you see?
Yes.
Can you see my video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we have a few modules here. And then I did, like, everybody does a little bit of each. And then and we have CloudWatch as well. Oh, so on the .ms here, you can put it's an optional, but you can put your phone number. So then you can get notified if there is something wrong with one of the metrics of the RDS or application load balancer. And any questions?
Sorry, just one question, Krishna.
Yeah.
What are the reasons to split the modules in those specific modules? I mean, how was the decision of creating an ECR, an ECS cluster, an ECS service, and so on and so forth?
So we tend to do modules because we were planning to do the solution. So then we start to divide the tasks. And after dividing the tasks, we saw that maybe if everyone start doing one module would be easier to set up and then to integrate. So everyone could work on each module first, make it work, and then do integration. So that's why we separate the modules. So basically the code is the Terraform modules. So the Terraform code to create all the infrastructure. We have a Docker folder with the Docker files. And we have a script to run some bash scripts for the automation. And we have the Docker Compose to run a Docker to run these orders, these targets.
Other reason to use modules was it was easier to test individual modules and make sure that they were working before doing the integration with the main Terraform application.
Cool. Can you go back to your README, please, on your architecture diagram? I have two questions. First one is, I have no idea what Fargate is. And the second one is, I can see that you guys have ECS tasks around. What happened if one of those tasks fail? How those tasks are those tasks going to come up back again automatically? How that works?
Can I try to answer that? Yeah, Kyle, the decision to deploy these with Fargate is because Fargate works as a virtual system which have some EC2 apt on there. But in that case, we have been choose Fargate because I don't have to manage that ECS. Like it's something Amazon Cloud works and provide that resource for me, and I can just go there and deploy my application and make our life a little bit easier. That's why we have been choose that. About the high availability, if some task of that stop to work, our load balance process, which is in blue here, you can see, they will move in and start task between those high availability zones. They will still be monitor that system to check if that container is live or not. And if something wrong happen and that container is going down, they will be start automatically again and be available for our users.
Are you sure is the load balancer that is going to create a new task definition if one of those tasks dies?
No, it's the ECS.
Yes, it's the ECS.
Yeah.
ECS what?
ECS.
What do you mean? Like the what does it stand for?
It's not. ECS has a few moving blocks, right? ECS is the service itself. For example, task definition, it's one of the features that ECS offers.
Oh, okay. It's the service, ECS service that will
Manage the
will manage
containers. Yep.
Can you explain how this SMS is sent and what triggers this SMS dispatch?
Okay. So I did two. One is initially for the RDS. So I set it to the metric if I'm the CPU, if the CPU utilization is higher than 70%, then it will send the text message. And also the one I did yesterday was if the response time for the WordPress ECS, it's higher than 3 seconds, it will also trigger the text. But for this one, I actually didn't it didn't reach that more than 3 seconds, so I didn't get this one.
Right.
And
you mentioned
where is the SNS in this diagram? I can't see.
It's not in the diagram. It's a part of the CloudWatch. Is it?
No, SNS is a different service, so shouldn't be reflected in the diagram, I guess.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Is your solution working? Can you guys show us?
Like you want to see the how is it running?
No,
Can
maybe
you access
the
WordPress?
Yeah. Can you show Lucas?
How to access WordPress? Okay.
Okay.
Hang on. I just need to get the link. So we have to go to the okay.
Can you do me a test, please?
Maybe I think, sorry, is it okay? I think my branch, I'm in the wrong branch. Lucas, do you have the?
Yeah, I can show you guys.
If you can edit an existing post or create a new one, doesn't matter. And if you can attach one image to it.
Okay. So this is the WordPress. Everyone can see, right?
Yep.
So if I go to posts, I can edit this post here. I can put another.
Just upload an image.
Image, yeah. Load the image. This one here. Image. We can just go and update.
Can you go now to? Can you go now to your ECS?
Yeah.
Your cluster. Just go into your cluster, tasks. Select both tasks and just click and stop.
Yeah. Not gonna work anymore until the tests going up again.
While the tasks are coming up, could you run us through the services in the system that a request goes through when I access it via browser? Like I just accessed your WordPress using the load balancer DNS. So what's happening? What's happening with this request? Which services are doing what in this?
Yeah, so if you access the WordPress through the DNS, EBL DNS, first it's gonna go to load balancer. So the load balancer accepts this DNS and then goes to, so we have the listener, and then there is a target group. So the load balance checks the target group, checks if the ECS, the tasks is healthy. Until it's not healthy, it's not gonna forward the request. So after that, it goes to the ECS. So we have a service, one service running, and right now it's 2 pending tasks because I've stopped it, and then the service is trying to run 2 tests again.
Why 2?
2 because I selected 2, but the script is 2, but I can do as many as I want.
Where did you set 2?
I've set 2 as a desired number for a test, but we can do a auto scaling, so then it's gonna check for metrics. And
where you do this configuration of 2 running tasks?
2 running tasks we did on the service, I believe.
Yep, the SS services.
Can I see it?
Yes. So desired count, 2.
It seems your screen is not updating.
Yeah.
And during your walkthrough of the how things work, so you said that it goes to Route 53 and then goes to load balancer. In your diagram, it's showing that goes to the internet gateway and then the load balancer. What is the path? The right path is from Route 53 to load balancer, or from Route 53 to internet gateway?
I'm not sure, but I think it's internet gateway that connects the load balance. There we go. Let me see.
And now you can see your screen again.
Sorry, I was just sharing this. Sorry, this is the code that I was trying to show you guys. Can you see my screen now?
Yep. And can you pass this as a variable for the module, or is hard coded?
I've put it hard coded for the presentation, but the idea would be to have like a variable, so then you can select how many you have. I think so. The project, it's not finished. I think there's a lot of things to improve, especially with these kind of high availability things. We didn't deploy Route 53 as well, but we planned, but we didn't have enough time to do.
It's okay. I think you guys reached pretty far, and I mean, you guys have a working solution, which is good. Of course, there are a few things to improve. I honestly, I can't test your code, so that's something that I would expect to be able to do before the presentations, but everyone was updating code like 5 minutes before. So that's a downswing because I can provide feedback on the code properly and see if everything works as expected. But at least you guys, from my view, reach pretty far. And so
I
well
think
done
I can
for
show
the
you
feedback.
that it's working now. So the test is running. Should be working. So yeah, it's working again.
Very cool. Nice.
So
Well
the
done, guys.
images and everything. And yeah. So
And one last question. I think yeah. I saw you're using just port 80, and one of the requirements were to secure the communication in transit and the data at rest through the whole cycle, right? The round trip, so end to end. So the communication in transit probably is not well secured. But how about the data at rest? So I see you have RDS. It's a MySQL database, I believe. Is it encrypted? And how about EFS?
yeah, EFS is not
there
encrypted.
encryption at rest?
Yes. So all the data it's stored on EFS. So we are mounting the root of the WordPress folder directly to EFS. So everything that it's doing on EFS is files is there, but the EFS is not encrypted here. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, we couldn't match a lot of requirements.
How about RDS?
RDS is encrypted.
Okay. Okay. So can I see it in the codes or in the console? Mm-hmm.
So storage encrypted, it's a variable. And if you go to here.
Yeah, the default is true. It's good.
Yep.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. Kayo, Kiko, or anyone else, do you have any questions to group one?
I think you guys did a pretty good job. We understand that it's a hard task. It's a quite big challenge for you guys that are entry level on AWS and cloud. So well done for that. Just few things that I would say on the bad side, saying like that. First is, as Kiko just mentioned, as you guys were working like that 10 minutes ago, we couldn't test your code, so we can't provide feedback on that. That's not good. And the other thing is, it's nice that you made the SNS integration with SMS and phone numbers, but that wasn't a requirement, and you have to pay attention with that because you still have a few things missing on the project, and you implemented something that the client didn't want to. And imagine two things: that the client didn't want that, and let's say you could sell that thing for a next project. So why are you giving up some features that they haven't even asked before? Just things to have in mind. Try to focus on what you have on your cards, on your boards to get done, and focus on that before.
Yeah, I think I couldn't see the CloudWatch on the README, so I wasn't sure what was needed. So I just
CloudWatch is pretty good. You should have done that. If we haven't put on the README, it should be there because it's where you can check logs and metrics and everything.
The logs are.
Yeah, there's a question in the project description.
Just the SMS part.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is just some result. What do you say? Bells and whistles. It doesn't aggregate much, but it's all right. It's just giving back honest feedback.
Yeah.
Overall, it's pretty good. Thanks
Yeah,
for that. Thanks for your efforts.
Just one last feedback. I like the usage of modules, but you guys need to improve how you guys use modules. I mean, from my point of view, there is no reasons to have that split of modules like you guys did. I mean, a task definition does nothing without an ECS service, right? So you guys should bundle those kinds of things that make sense and work together in a single module. But I believe you guys can improve from that. But yeah, I like the usage of module. Very nice.
I agree with that. Just simplifies.
Yeah.
The workflow.
I mean, in Terraform page, there are some guidelines and best practices for usage of modules. If you guys like modules, take a look into that, and you guys will be able to improve from that guideline from Terraform.
Yeah, I think that's it. Very good, group one. Congratulations for what you achieved. There are some things pending. You know that, but you got the solution working even without some requirements. And of course, you can iterate and deliver more. If it was a big project, we would have sprints and a PO prioritizing things and saying what's the next priority for this sprint. So it was a good work. I'd like to share my screen. Just some congratulations to group one. Nice. Let me share my screen quickly because it serves not only for group one, but for the others. We're going to give you feedback on the project, mainly based on the requirements and of course the way you coded the solution, but always link it to the requirements, right? If we go to deliver a solution to a customer and they want a monolith application that does create, read, update, and deletion, we're not going to build a distributed system with microservices and some crazy stuff, right? We need to deliver what's within the requirements and the scope proposed because it affects the timing. So we are going to give feedback related to requirements that we will link to the code you've developed. So these are the requirements just for you to remember. The project is in projects folder, project 01. And here we talk about containerizing the WordPress application, security, CI/CD, and an easy way for developing and deploying, monitoring, high availability, and other things, right? So I think that's it. I think group two then. Who is group two?
Me.
Matt,
I'm gonna share my screen.
All right, share your screen. Who are the group members, the team members? Can you say their names?
Marcio, Denise, and Matt.
All right.
So Denise will be talking about our diagram first. So do you want me to share with you, Denise? Give you
that's
control?
fine. I can see that's good. Can you just
cool.
a little bit? Yeah, that's good. And zoom in. I'm looking at the screen, please.
Is that cool?
Yeah, just one more.
One more.
I'll get very close to my screen. Thank you. Cool. Right. So that's our solution diagram. We also started on one a little bit more basic, where the fundamental or the resources are pretty much the same. So here we have the route 53 and the internet gateway. In our VPC, we divided with two availability zones, A and B. And inside each, we have to subnets. So on each we have a public and a private subnet. And with the private subnet, yeah, and also it was interesting figuring out where things would go. There was a lot of discussion. So there you can see there is the EC2 on the private subnet, and we have the ECS cluster around it. With the EC2 and the private subnets, I would say the EC2 connecting to the EFS. And also with the Amazon Aurora that we chose to use, and the ECR. We have the routes, and oh my goodness, I don't know what else to say. And yeah, we have auto scaling group, and we try to stay with the requirements as much as possible. One note, we did ponder, it was a long time to decide if you're going to go with Fargate or EC2. So there was a bit of research on that. None of us knew much about Fargate anyway, but one of the main reasons why we opt EC2 was because Fargate apparently is not designed for persistent data, to store persistent data. And we thought we could use EC2 as well, and also because we would have more control over the infrastructure. Do you want to continue on, Matt? I know you speak too quickly.
Sure. Was there any questions with that? Or all right, I'll keep going. So I'll just talk about the README we have here. Technologies used: GitHub, Terraform, Docker, MySQL, ECS, ECR, EFS. And prerequisites to run this repository is just Git, Docker Compose, Make, and just your terminal, CLI. So the way we did the Make files initially, you just need to navigate into the Terraform directory. And then you run the command make _ AWS init. So what that does, it runs AWS CLI via a container and asks you for your secrets. So after it asks you for this, the secrets, it will then create a folder in the directory and then mount that to the Terraform container plus the credentials through. So we do the make init to initialize the Terraform plan, make plan, and then make apply. And then finally destroy here. See if I can quickly show this here. This is the outputs that we have. So our password and the ECR URL. And that's just the creation there. Let me just see if I can show you a little bit too far. Roadblocks. Do we talk about roadblocks, or is this just?
Yeah, you can talk about it.
Yeah, because we had a few.
Yeah, we had a few roadblocks. Finding time to work on this project and continue with our daily routines and jobs was the first roadblock. Majority of our resources were built, but we were unable to run WordPress as expected. I think one of the major issues we have was we would create the cluster without any issues. But it's like what everyone was saying before, it's about connecting all the dots with each other. So the issue that we had was that our ECS cluster would create, but there was no task definition, because or else we'd get a load balancer error because the target group. And then the EC2 that was created by the ASG wouldn't link to the ECS service. So we were stuck on that for quite some time.
How did you find out the issue for that? How did you fix that?
We didn't fix it, unfortunately. We don't have a working solution.
Yes, but I think maybe, can I share my screen?
Yeah, sure.
So let me see, how can I do that? So we were working in this task, and first of all, we tried to just get at least the first AC2 created by the ASG. So many, yeah, and yeah, and I'll just call in group, and but we couldn't figure it out this, and I tried to also we tried to run manually. I mean, like creating a resource called AWS if it just to make sure that load balancer was working, and it was. But we assume that here is the problem, that in loud configuration we couldn't figure it out and launch the first AC2 through ASG. But I think that is something like related. I mean, just I think because I was in charge of to try to fix it, and my last thought was like maybe it could be something related with the ALB, and also the target groups, because once you've got all the target groups, which is like which is subnets they are going to create it, you can have those configuration to create your EC2.
Yeah, the error that we kept getting in Terraform was that the load balancer has no valid target in the target group. So we thought it had something to do with the target mode. We tried switching from instance to IP address. That didn't fix anything either.
Yeah, but unfortunately we couldn't figure it
Are
out.
your instance coming up?
Yeah. Did you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, let's go for a ride on your AWS console.
Yes, sure. Can you cancel your share, Adriana?
First thing that you guys need to have in mind is my group also struggle with that a little bit. So it's going to be, I think it's going to be a good feedback for everyone. You guys, you first need to have instance on your cluster. So a cluster, it's a group of instances, right? So the first step is having instance on your cluster. So there's nothing about Route 53. There's nothing about load balancer.
Yes.
There's nothing about EFS. There's nothing about RDS. It's instance connected to a cluster. That's the first step. So focus on the order of the cards.
Yes, we just came up with this in just one day ago, like yesterday. And so we try to have at least one AC2 created through ASG, and we couldn't do it. We don't know.
Yeah, the AC2 instance is being created. The problem is that it's not joining the ECS cluster. And my biggest concern is not that. My biggest concern is that the card to create ECS cluster is in the done column, which is unbelievable for me. I mean, it's not good to have something in done, which is not done. That's, I think that was, you guys struggle a little bit with cards and requirements and acceptance criteria.
Wrong region.
And that wasn't good. But yeah, if you can just show in the console, Matt, it's probably easier than show the
I'm just trying to see our ECS isn't created. Just trying to see if everything applied correctly.
I can share mine. I have some.
Is yours created?
Yes.
All right.
I can keep.
Are you on the right region, Matt? Because you.
No, I wasn't. I was in Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happens all the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Just sharing now.
Yep.
All right, so here we are.
Yep.
Yes.
So we have no tasks.
Go to your EC2 instance.
No, over there in the list. Right?
There should be one running, I guess.
Should have two, because we had the desired
for two,
mode set to 2.
So
Really.
what could be the issue? Why is not joining? What are the requirements to one instance once it comes up to join a cluster?
From the documentation I was reading, it had something to do with the ENI. So the EC2 ENI needed to connect to the ECS, but that's just my interpretation of the documentation I was reading.
Yes, exactly. I found the same.
Can you
Because
show the network NACO, what you have there?
The which one's that?
The network.
The
access
VPC.
control list. Yeah, in the VPC.
also, we were thinking about maybe it's because some ports, or we are trying to connect a private subnet with AES load balancer, and as
I don't think it was. I don't think it was
in
the NAT. I don't think it was the NAT gateway that caused it. But that's just what I think.
So nothing goes
balancer
out
try
and
to-
nothing goes in of the subnet. So how
Yes.
the EC2 instances will communicate with anything?
No port
Yes.
open.
Ah.
No port open. Sorry.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty hard to communicate with anything.
Yeah, definitely.
we were getting there, okay? We are getting there.
Yeah,
We
you
started
guys
with
would
the
get there.
ports.
I
Well,
agree that you guys will get there.
You
It's
were
just-
troubleshooting load balancer.
Yes, because the message that the error
Very cryptic
or-
messages.
Yes, and
No,
it
but
was
the-
a little bit tricky. But once I started, we started like to think how those things is gonna be connected, and how they can allow one subnet, one AC to connect outside of a private subnet, and that is started.
The issues
because,
that you guys were
brainstorms.
having, the issues that you guys were having in Terraform, it was to create the some of the resource. That's fine. The ECS resource was created successfully, so the ECS cluster and the EC2 instance, but it wasn't communicating between each other, right? So you guys were trying to troubleshoot something that was ahead of an issue before that. So yeah, maybe that's a good experience for troubleshooting, but you guys are trying to deploy everything before even having sure that DCS was running properly and working. And
Yeah, this is an important message about troubleshooting. There are a lot of technologies we are using, right, to deliver the solution. If you try to troubleshoot everything together, it's going to be harder. So the end goal is having infra as code, right? That's what we ask it for. But nothing prevents you from going through the console, putting up an instance, setting up a load balancer, just try to communicate them to see if there's a problem in your security groups or the way you configured the ELB or in echoes. So I think that's basically the flow. Well, I use this, probably Kiko and Kyle do something similar, because you'll not be wasting time sometimes to code something just for testing purposes. You need you have a question, you need to answer, right? Does my NACO is working? Does my secure group is working? My network is communicating, my subnets or not? Then you go from the bottom to the top. There are several layers, right? If you keep just troubleshooting on the application layer, you're abstracting all of the layers below. Right?
Root cause analysis.
So you were trying to deploy a load balancer, and for that you were having issues related to load balancer, but that wasn't your main problem.
Yes, exactly.
And that was slowing you down. For example, my group also yesterday, I've seen they deploying probably around 10 times RDS, which takes 20 minutes to delete and create again. That was a bloody long time to just keep watching the RDS getting deleted and deployed again. And they weren't troubleshooting RDS, so just get rid of it. So, like doing through the console if you are having issues, as Danny said. And once you are comfortable with the solution working, then you automate. the automation comes after the product is working manually.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
One last example is for EFS, for group 1. It's a separate module, right? You could code as a Terraform, put up a EC2 instance, mount EFS, and test if the files are being stored in the file system. But we noticed a problem when mounting from the containers for some reasons. And it makes the troubleshooting harder because we were trying to save an image, for example, to test if the file system was working or not. So it's hard even, and we didn't have CloudWatch logs set up yet. So when you go up in this layer, in these layers, it's going to be hard to get information. I think that's the main point. The right information.
That I think another thing that I think it's like it really would be useful. Maybe build all the solution using the console instead of started coding everything. And once you've got everything working, and you try to reproduce in code.
Can you guys go back to your architecture diagram? But, what is that EFS, which is somewhere floating on the diagram?
Oh, it's really nice.
Yeah.
That is it?
What is that? I have no idea what EFS is.
Isn't it is it a file system? Is that where, for example, you can save the images from the WordPress? That's where they would be saved.
I don't know. You were presenting to us.
Sorry.
Yes, that's the Elastic file system. So that creates like a mount point on the EC2. So the Docker container can mount volumes and then pass static data through.
And why it's on the middle of the diagram?
Looks nice.
There is a reason for that, and there is a reason why.
Because they are serving those EC2. I mean, in this diagram, so you can access from those EC2.
Why did you put one EC2 on the private A and one EC2 on the private B? And why EFS is on the middle? Why is not the same?
It's true. That's true. So you're saying that it should be able to create the mount points on the private subnets instead of the EFS in the VPC, kind of in like no man's land.
That's like it's a common pattern to put on the middle of the subnets.
Because I would say that it's a different research like Amazon Aurora. So they have they have it on your parameters, and you can use EFS in whatever you want.
And you can't with Aurora?
You can do it with Aurora. That's why they are out as well.
So that pattern of having the icon on the middle of the subnets means that it can be in both subnets. So you don't need to put the same icon on both subnets. You put in the
I
middle.
didn't know.
Cool.
Sorry, Caio, can you repeat that? Because I was wondering, can you please repeat what you just said?
So instead of the way that you guys did with the EC2 icons, that you put one in each subnet, you could potentially put on the border of the both subnets, and then it means that it's high available. It's on both subnets.
Okay.
Good to know.
That's it. Yeah. We are now
wondering why you use if you didn't know.
And something about the same thing. Why is the router inside the availability zones?
That was my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when you're drawing, some things will be inside subnets, some things will relate subnets, some things are in the VPC level, some other services are global or regional.
because the router, it's the thing that we are gonna communicate it, both the subnets, I mean the public and the private one. So that's why we have a route in another zone and in different zones.
So
doesn't the router for public subnet communicate with IGW as well?
The private communicates with the public through the net gateway, isn't it? And then
Internet gateway, right? The public subnet.
And then
communicates. Yeah. So putting inside the availability zone. Well, it relates to the availability zone, but yeah,
it makes sense.
I get what you mean. Yeah, I get what you mean.
Say anything. That was me.
No, it's fine. It's a learning. It's fine.
It is a learning for sure.
It can make sense if the router is specific for availability zone A, and you might have this kind of design for several reasons. In the case that you guys did, you had two routers, right? One public and one private. And so the way the things are showing here, since that you guys have one router for AZ1 and the other router for AZ2, which is not right according to the solution that you guys created.
No.
But it's fine. You guys don't worry with that. It's just a feedback about diagrams and how we show resources that are related to AZ and how we show resources that are not related to an AZ.
Okay.
One question. What are you using NAT gateway for?
The NAT gateway was put into the public subnet to connect the ECR to the private subnet. So that's how I was going to pull the repository, because it talks out through the internet and then back through.
Right. Okay. Do you have any monitoring or logging in your solution for any of the services?
No.
Doesn't any service offer logs out of the box? Like Aurora?
Aurora does. Aurora has some logging.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure with the EC2, you can, there's some CloudWatch logging. If you go into the tabs down the bottom, you'll see CloudWatch.
What would you guys what would you do from now that you know what needs to be done, at least a few next steps? What do you do to start working on that to fix? Few next steps.
I think one of the first steps we should do was to change our access control list to allow to communicate.
Exactly.
Not getting rid of the Terraform code and trying to get the code working on console first.
Sorry?
Not getting rid of the Terraform automation before. And see if we can get that solution in the console.
Yes, good point. Get it up working as it is now. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably one of the first steps, and then from there we'll be able to use the information that we have and then code it properly.
I think you can get this like as an example for the next project. Try to build everything, and once you've got everything working, and just try to code and get it work as well.
Cool. Any other questions? Anyone?
Just about the code structure, I don't think we saw the code structure.
Oh, yeah, true.
Just high level, like 1 minute.
So here we have we've created ECR, ECS, EFS,
we try to do for each resource, it's file.
Okay, so just the root module, right?
Yeah, just the root module, and then joined together by the makefile here.
When you run your automation, where are the variables values are set?
They are set here in our variables file.
We don't have the main file.
We don't have the main TFRs. No, we don't use that.
You're just using defaults.
Yes.
Is that going to be an issue if I want to change my environment, let's say from development to production?
Yes, because actually I think another thing that I would say that next project we will need to be more careful is the syntax and way we are developing with coding. So try to put everything in a variable way and verbal, and yeah, I would say that we need to get better in those of or syntax.
Yeah, there's a lot of mix between Terraform 11 and Terraform 12 in the code, which needs to be also.
Yes, the
Yes.
interpolations.
Yes.
The $sign and curly brackets.
Yeah.
Can I see your Docker file?
Yes, you can.
You get it.
It's public, right?
Yes.
Just access the repo and see it.
But you don't have any secrets.
Yeah, this is just
Don't you?
this is
Yeah.
just one of the default ones I use to link to our Docker Compose, just to run the Terraform commands in. I'd initially created my own container with CLI and Terraform, but under Kiko's guidance, he's like, you might as well use the one that's released on the net because someone's maintaining it, so it's probably a little bit easier.
Yeah.
Okay, and as I can see it, I believe this image doesn't have AWS CLI, right? So are you assuming the developer has AWS CLI installed? Is it in the README?
Yeah, it's here.
It's there. You're using the out of the box. Okay.
Yeah.
Mapping credentials.
Yeah. So
is it the default path for credentials?
No, I changed it.
Okay.
So,
is it working in others' machine or just in your machine?
That's a good question. It actually didn't work on Denise's machine.
Yeah, it didn't.
I was wondering why.
Yeah, that's why we usually use the home folder /.aws, which is the default folder.
You have done on the right part, on the right side, just not on the left.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Good to know.
That's it.
Yep.
Any more questions for group 2?
Just one thing. They should work on any workstations, I guess. The problem is that this folder is probably not being created, because then is the way they are doing, or the way that Matt created this Docker Compose, is that it's not using the credential. You don't need to have CLI on your local. You don't have to have AWS configured on your local. You just run the make AWS init, I guess. And this will ask, it's going to run an AWS configure in the Docker, inside the Docker.
Okay. So you're creating this folder.
Yeah. You're creating the credentials inside the Docker, so you don't need to have the AWS CLI in your local. Is another requirement of the local machine. So
Okay.
I think it's probably just missing in whenever it runs the Docker Compose to create that empty folder, which is creds. And then
I've got a like a bash command in the make file that goes make the creds.
Oh, really?
Those
once the init is run.
Weird. I can take a look later. It's fine.
Okay. Thank you. So congratulations, group 2. Thank you.
Pretty good effort. I hope you guys have learned more about AWS.
It's supposed to be fun and for you to use the services integrated. I know it's a lot of work.
And also learning how to find stuff on Google, a lot of it. How to find the
And for the things that you don't find, we are here. Just ask for help.
That's 70% of my work today is searching things on Google. So you need to get better at that.
Yeah, same thing for me today.
Indeed, I know.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
That's good. Can we go straight ahead with group 3? It's 7 o'clock, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll share my screen here.
Okay. So Anderson, who is group 3?
Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. So group 3 is me, Karini, and Heaven.
Thanks.
Cool. So starting here on the diagram, can you guys see? Do you need zoom? More?
We can see.
This? Okay.
It's good.
Cool. So it's coming from users outside Amazon. Comes to Route 53. And then it goes into Internet Gateway, which goes with load balancer. So load balancer goes into, it's on a public subnet. So you have AZA, AZB, right? So 2 public subnets. The load balancer is there, and then it goes into the private subnets. So we have a ECS cluster here, which EC2 instances, and inside the EC2 instance, you have a task running in the container. So I just put one each instead of the middle because it will be everything in the middle basically. But so I put one here, one here. EFS is on a private subnet as well. It's in the middle because it's sharing. Our database is also in a private subnet, so it's in the middle, sharing between the resources. We had to add net gateway just for the EC2 instances because we found out last night that task needs to communicate with the AWS resource to check if it's running or not. So we added a net gateway just for the instances to communicate with AWS. Yeah, and basically that's it. And then you have this the route tables for public, which goes everything that is on 10.0.0.0.16 goes local, and everything that goes to internet goes to Internet Gateway. On a private, same thing for local traffic. And if every time you go to internet, it goes through the net gateway. And then it goes up to the cloud. I think that's it. I made it very short to keep like in under 1 minute.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah, and then
Anderson?
yeah, so yeah, so now we have this README files. Just to explain a bit here before Karini goes. So we have all the files, the Terraform files, and then we have divided into resources. So we have like into modules for every single resource we create. And then someone asked before on the other group. So we have the TF, for example, the VPC TF file. All the variables are declared here. Variable blah, 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 string or list, whatever. And then it brings stuff from Terraform TF vars. So we have all this project name, region, VPC, blah, blah, blah. So it's all coming from here, bringing from here, and taking from here. Yeah, so Karini, if you want to go through, let me just go back one level.
Yeah, so just starting on the top before your diagram. Just scroll up a little bit. Yeah, it's just to show
for
that
you to share your screen, Karini, just to avoid this.
Oh, I think it's...
if you can.
Okay.
Do you want to share? Okay, that's fine.
No, I think it would be very straightforward.
Okay.
I will share.
Okay, you do, yeah.
Because I'm gonna share it later.
Because I have stuff open if you want to use mine. I don't mind. Let me go back.
Yeah.
Wait, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. All right. So it's just to show that what we are using. So we are using Terraform, we are using Makefile and Docker. So it takes us to the right step. So if we scroll down, as Anderson said, we have all the AWS resources. So let's say if you want to see a specific Terraform file, you can go through that and just click on it. So you see the ALB, the application load balancer, LSE containers, the container services as well, that you can find the cluster, ASG, task description, or definition, sorry, it's task definition, not description, service, and also EFS. For the EFS, we actually found something very interesting because I tried to create an access point, but we couldn't do it in Terraform. So if you click on this, see more details here, you can see they are being deployed, they are being developed. So it's just waiting for deployment in Terraform. So soon we will be able to run this create access point through Terraform as well. Going down, we have the network with VPC, subnets, gateways, echoes, ACLS, and route tables, and also the database. We also have some guidance on the bottom if you want to go and see with some details with those readmes. And yeah, that's the structure that we created to help someone who wants to see what we have done in our project. But then we can go through and jump on the AWS IDE to see how we created that.
Where? Sorry?
Oh, to the AWS.
Console?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Code first.
Maybe yeah, we explain that code first.
I think Heaven has to show her desktop with this.
Yeah,
code.
okay, I'll share my screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you see the screen, the IDE?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start with the make file. I think we were a bit rushed, didn't get time to include how to deploy and build images in the README. But basically what we did is using the Docker Compose, similar as everyone. And but what I run Docker Compose is just a Terraform. So if you run make deploy infra, it will deploy the Terraform components. And we also if we make build, it will push the image. But what we did is just hard coded the ECR repo, so then we can build image. And it was trying to automate. We can update the task definition if new image has been built, but didn't get a chance to do that. So it's just yeah, leave it empty. But at least we can Docker Compose around the Terraform and deploy the infrastructure. In terms of the code, so we have the modules. So we have different modules, and all the variables are here. And this is a module how they work together. It's pretty it's a bit of messy. We're just trying to get the variables from one component and it can be used in another resources. So network, I think it's like there's no mystery of the network. In the RDS that we create a cluster using the MySQL engine version. And something you need to mention is we're using the SSM service. So basically, we create all the DB host, DB user, username, password, and save it in the parameter store. How do we use the password is we didn't hard code the password, but we randomly generate the password using a provider called a random. Then we save this password to the parameter store. And here when we create the cluster, we just get from the parameter store. So the password, we don't need to know what the password is, and the cluster will just know from the parameter store. Yeah, so EFS, yeah, it's just creating EFS and security. So we have the security group for each component, which is, so for example, the security group on within the EFS is for the EFS.
Gonna show the user data TPL.
Yeah.
As well. So that's the launch configuration. So that's the user data. So every time the instance go up, it does this.
Do you need that? Do you need that sudo?
We would probably don't need, but we were just trying to avoiding mistakes. We made some changes yesterday.
Why you don't need?
I think it is by default running.
It's running by the root.
By the root.
Yeah, but in my case, I asked them to put that because in my case, it asked me to use the sudo. I don't know why it was asking me to put, so I couldn't do it without the sudo. But I didn't run that specific script. So what I did was manually, probably because of that.
When you run on when the user data script runs, it runs as a root, so you don't need to use sudo commands.
Yeah, cool.
Your test was actually on the instance trying to mount, then you need to use the sudo command.
Yeah, all right. So we could remove that.
Yeah, just a little bit. Sudo is also a thing that you use in Linux command line. So it's just to get the credentials in your own PC if you're working on Windows, Linux.
Yep.
Can you explain to everyone a bit of the challenge that you guys had to get the instance connected to the ECS cluster? I had to help the guys.
Yeah, you had to help me because I was getting
some challenge that we just to complete Anderson before you explain what was it.
Yeah,
was some challenge that we didn't start before, but I'll leave to them to explain. Because
I think we had a similar issue as group 2, that after we managing to deploy everything, successfully deployed everything to the AWS, and we find out there's no task running under the ECS cluster. So the first thing that we want to check is, okay, is that EC2 instance running? So the EC2 instance is actually running, but it's just not attaching to the cluster. And so basically Kyle helped us to troubleshoot, and we found out like quite a couple of issues. So I remember, first thing is, so some of the NACO port was not right. Basically is, I think, so we found out that because our EC2 instance is running in the private subnet, and if you want to get traffic from the outside, we don't have the NAT gateway. So that's one thing. I think Kyle, what he did is he SH to the EC2 instance and tried to find a log, see what is wrong, and basically it's telling the logs showing there's no net there's a HTTP error saying there's no NAT gateway. And also another thing is, if now we deploy everything again, there's still something wrong with the private subnet. So now the instance can only be run in the private subnet B. So if the instance is running in the subnet A, it doesn't work. Yeah, so still need to troubleshoot that. Yeah, also we found out there's some mounting issue with the EFS as well by looking at the logs going to the container. So yeah, so quite a lot of small stuff to be fixed in the last night. Yeah, anything, Anderson, you wanna say?
Me? Yeah, I was just at the beginning before when I was creating the instance for the cluster, I was getting the wrong AMI, and then we fixed that to the ECS AMI, which is the one that has all this like a ECS agent inside to connect to the ECS.
Yeah, for me, it would be just lessons learned, because I think we didn't have time to review all the tasks and check if we've completed everything and see if we connected everything together and looked everything correctly. So that was one of the things that we should do next time, is just review all the tasks that we created and see if we met all the items on each one of the tasks, if we've completed everything.
Can you show the way you're templating the JSON for container definition?
Yep.
Okay, it's just here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then you have this secrets declared there, right?
Yeah.
How do you inject values into it?
Inject.
Yeah, how do you replace these variables?
Because this is a ARN. It's already, so this is the ARN for the 4 value parameters. So basically we use module. So you see, for example, the DB host ARN variable, which is in. So we create the template file by giving the DB host ARN, and this one is getting from the RDS module, which is.
Yeah, no, that's good. This one is one of the things that I'd like to show. For example, for group 1, group 1 did a similar solution for the container definition.
Yeah.
But they used JSON encode to have all the content of the JSON, but as a HCL language, and they used the JSON encode function to transform it, to parse it to JSON and pass it to the container definition. So this is yet another option to inject variables and work with JSON files.
Okay. So it's a JSON encode function, is it?
Yeah, because we had a JSON file like you guys.
Yeah.
But then to work with variables, we thought that would be easier to have inside the Terraform file. And that's it.
I have a question about that. Okay, you put all your values on the SSM parental store, and then you run your task definition, and the task definition needs to go to SSM and get those values from there. How do you give permission to your task definition to access the service?
We create a IAM role for the, I think it's in.
Yeah, just there.
It's in there. It's just there. Amazon SS read only.
85.
So
85.
Yeah. So basically we need to create a different IAM role for different tasks. For the task definition, we create this IAM role and need to attach the policy, which is one for ECS task execution. Another one is for SS read-only access. So this one is for getting the ARN. Yeah, but
could you give this policy access to the role that the EC2 instance is using instead of the ECS task definition? Would that work?
You mean
Yes.
attach this to the EC2 instance?
Yeah, the EC2 instance has an instance role attached to it already with some permissions. If you give permissions to SSM to the EC2 instance, and then remove from that one from your task definition, would that still work?
Yeah, I think so.
It will work.
And why would you add the permission for SSM on the instance or on the task definition?
Just because of the privileges. Because if you put in the instance, every single thing that's connected to the instance will have access to the something. And if you put specifically for the ACS, only that specific cluster will have access.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly like that. If you put on the EC2 instance, any container will have access to the values. And putting on the ACS task, well, just that task definition will have access to the parameters.
Yeah.
Just one question in regards to the module again. If you need to have a new task, a new service, how would you do that in your code?
You mean a new module if we want to create a new component?
Imagine that part of you have a WordPress container running in your cluster, and now you need, I don't know, something else, a caching solution for. So instead of reaching directly for the database, your WordPress will reach for this caching solution, which is running in a container. How would you do that?
I think it will just create another directory by linking to by making it as a module into this file.
Now you need to use DCS, right? Because otherwise you're gonna create a different ECS cluster for your new task.
ECS,
right?
Yeah.
Because in the ECS module you're creating the cluster, the task definitions, the service, everything, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you need to run WordPress 2. Just another, Kiko is just meaning another application, any other new application.
Oh, you mean reuse the module?
Yeah, the module is not
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and it's not reusable. Yes, definitely not reusable. It's, yeah, I know. Yeah, we're not technically making the use of the module. We're just trying to get the some of the output from one module to another. But I know I've seen some of the module. There are quite a lot of reusable module publicly can be used. But ours is, yeah, I think it's not get to that stage yet.
And as a side note, I love the Git commit with the message fix things. It's very nice.
One question about documentation. I saw you have make targets, but they are not referenced in the documentation. So which one should I use? Because if I just go through the documentation, I won't be using the make targets. So how is that?
On which one?
Would that work if I just follow in this session how to run? There are 3 guides, and I assume I need to run one after the other, right? For the solution to work. And inside each README.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, not really. It was just more like each one of us did our own README, and I just put them in the. We didn't have time to actually review it. I think we also as a lessons learned, I think we also need to review all these variables for each one of these modules, and have more time to define this how to run. I think it would be good to have this how to run to go through everything, but it's not. We didn't have time basically to review it. And
no, don't worry. I think it's all about prioritization. For all the 3 groups, the 2 contents that I thought would be the easiest ones in the course, in the end, they turn up to be, I think, the hardest ones, because the theory is simple, but when you get to practice it, it's hard. They are Agile and Git. So we are doing Terraform, a lot of AWS, but probably you noticed working as a group that peer reviews, documentation, prioritization, documentation on how to run the solution. For example, if I come to this repo and I want to fix the diagram, which tool is used? Where is the source code of this image? How do I do it?
What is this about? It doesn't say anywhere that it's a solution to run WordPress in AWS.
That's a good point too.
Actually, on the top, it says something. If you scroll up on the top, it says something.
Scroll up if you can. Let's see.
Yeah, the objective. Yeah, it has one line. Yeah,
just one line.
These things are simple things to fix,
makes a lot of difference.
They impact the way the team work. So you'd gain more velocity if you get these things right in the beginning. If you do a prioritization of 15 minutes, like the stand-up meetings, you could do it, right? All of the 3 groups. You could do a stand-up meeting of 15 minutes. We said that it was a good practice, but probably you were meeting, I don't know, once a week or twice a week. So these things, they keep accumulating, right? It's about the way of working. It's not about technology. And you need to practice it and keep teaching each other and remembering each other about the practice to get this right. I mean, you need to train it, and well, everybody fails in Agile every day, but it's important to keep learning and experimenting new things. So I think that's a good takeaway from this project as well. I don't know if you noticed these 2 points.
And the communication itself.
Communication.
Yeah, both communication and I think I've seen in all 3 groups the master branch broken, which means no one could deploy from master, which is, I guess, very critical in terms of a production environment, right? Because, okay, this is not a business. We are not dealing with customers, but it's expected that the master branch is always working. And that wasn't the case for the 3 groups. So it's important that before you merge some code into master, you are sure that the change that you're merging, it won't break master, right? It can happen fine, but for the reasons that we've seen happening, it wasn't supposed to happen as well. And that's I think something that you guys need to learn and try to avoid as much as possible, because that just means you're not delivering any new feature to your customers. And so, yeah, not very good.
Think like that. You guys probably have done a lot of research to fix the challenge, to go through the challenge. And you probably have been to a lot of GitHub repositories to have a read on some examples and how to do stuff. Do you think if someone, your repository is public and it's kind of a resume for you guys, not a resume, it's a portfolio.
Portfolio, yeah.
So if someone right now looking for how to run WordPress on AWS comes to your repository, finds out, do you think that they will be able to get anything from it? They will understand what the message that you are trying to pass? Look into your codes, try to get that message. Like Anderson was explaining about the solution that was saying, and those variables, blah, blah, blah. No, man, you go and say, like, this is for this. This variable AWS region serves to points for the region on your AWS account. You always assume that we don't know what is that for. Just some points so you guys can improve on that. Let's go to the AWS side. Everything seems good on the code.
It didn't ask, is it running?
Yeah.
Yep. Which part I want to say?
Show us running the application first.
Yeah, okay. It's running. Oh.
It's not running.
Just remove from the top.
I think something weird happening is yesterday it's up and running, but it's just in the
the load balancer address. So you have the WP. No, just go. See, you have /. Yeah, click there. See, you have, yeah. Just remove the / whatever you have. Yeah.
Yeah, it should work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we something weird happening is none of us has set up the login, but it's just being set it up. So none of us know the password now.
Yeah, there wasn't a wizard last night, and then this morning, like, nah. I think Caio played a trick on us. He probably set up.
Caio shouldn't even be touching the WordPress for you guys, man. Come on.
Yeah, so we have
Stop
to
blaming the wrong person.
Like, to fix it now, I believe you have to go to the database and remove the username and create it again. Just add me username.
You guys can show us what happens if we kick the tasks on ECS. We won't be able to test your EFS, but at least the tasks. You just select and hit stop on the top right hand side.
Oh, you mean stop the task? Okay. So
yeah, click stop.
Just do a refresh.
I think the health check is 180 seconds or probably 240, probably 2 minutes to take.
No, it should be fairly quick, few seconds.
Yeah, it takes a little bit longer in the Fargate, but in the EC2 mode, it should be pretty quick, like 15 seconds. It should be up and running.
Just leave on tasks. Yeah, it's running again.
Okay.
Try again the web page. Oops.
I think it needs, let me refresh. Probably it's in the wrong subnet.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, let's see.
Now it's working. Try that again.
Oh, okay.
So
I think it's
you
working.
say for one of the subnets, it isn't working. Is that right?
Oh, it's working.
Yeah, yes, Dennis. Like for some reason, it works when the task definition runs in the instance that is running on the subnet B, but not on the A.
Mm.
Yeah, it's very weird. They have the same rules. I couldn't find why.
Can you go back to the service? ECS service? I noticed something. It's going to be a tricky question. Prepare. You don't need to click on anything. Just leave like that.
Yeah.
If you look into your ECS service, in the middle of the columns, there is one that is called desired, and there is one called running. I can see that desired one, there's two, but only one running. Why is that? Was
I think that I'm not 100% sure, but I think desire means desire to. I think because when you create
Not the minimum, is it? Not a minimum size?
desire, I think desire to task to TDs. But actually, in our auto scaling group, we just the maximum instance that what we define is only one, so there's only one running.
Well, you're talking about task definitions, containers. Can you, on your local machine, you are able to run only one Docker image and then that's it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, you can run multiple. But can you run in the same port?
No.
Yeah.
Are you running the containers in a fixed port?
Port 80, I think. I don't know.
Port 80.
Can you show the task? Sorry, the target group.
Target group using.
Because that just makes the container itself useless, right? It's probably better to run WordPress in a virtual machine if you guys doing that. It's the same. You need one machine for one container, so not very.
Show us the task definition.
The code.
No, the JSON itself, the task definition itself. Yeah, there is something wrong. What is wrong there?
Container port 80.
Host port and container
right.
port. Should we leave host port like any?
The host port is not right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna need yeah.
There should be any.
Yeah, it should be a random high port.
You just don't specify.
Yeah, just remove it.
Leave it blank. Yeah, this.
It will assign a random port available.
Yeah.
As the 80, you have just one port per.
And that's what is happening. So the service wants to start a new task definition, but there is already one task definition using the port 80, so it's getting conflict.
If you
Can
go
I
into
ask
the task,
something or
of course,
about this? So I've got an issue as well that it was saying that different ports I couldn't run. That means that if I have host port and container port, they have to be the same.
No, really. The WordPress inside the container is running on port 80, so that can be the same. You can have a 100 containers running with the port 80 inside the container, but the host ports are unique. You can't have two services exposed on the same ports. Then you can have WordPress 1 running on port 80 and WordPress 2 running on port 8080, and then you can access both of them. But when you have a load balancer and a ECS service spinning up new task definitions for you on the fly, like if something fails, the ECS service will come up and create a new task definition. If something happens, it will come up and spin up a new. You can't use ports on the whole site. That will be all managed by AWS with the integration with the ECS service and the load balancer and the target groups. Every time that the service creates a new task definition, we'll tell the load balancer, expose this port here, which I'm going to random assign.
Yeah, this is a nice integration and it's solving a lot of problems behind the scenes. Usually, if you're doing an architecture by hand from scratch, you would need some kind of service discovery to basically map what are the IPs available for a specific service and do the routing. So ECS working with the load balancer is doing that for you, assigning these these ephemeral ports that will map to port 80 in your container, so you can spin up several containers for per host. Any
more questions?
Let me check here.
Is the latest code committed to master?
Yep.
Cool.
Also, just to mention in a better way for the other things. So the requirements was to, if you went to EC2 solution, the requirement was to run the EC2 instance on the private subnet. So the group 2 will have that issue if they want to fix their solution. And we asked you guys, we said to you guys that the NAT gateway wasn't required because of cost. So we left that as an optional, but we ended having an issue with that we were not expecting. So how the EC2 instance connects to the ECS cluster gets linked, the instance with the cluster. The instance itself actually needs to go to a public URL and send your cluster name to AWS. And then you actually need internet on the instance. There is another way of doing, for example, we work with some clients that they can't have internet access on AWS environments. That's a requirement for them. So how you do that? So there is a way to create one private link with AWS resource, which is actually called, the name of the service is called private link. And then any communication with S3, with Dynamo, with Aurora, with ECR, not just ECS on your case, ECR as well, it's another one. It would go through private communication with AWS, would never leave the internet. Then to solve that, don't go with private link. It's much more complex solution. On your case, to solve that, either deploy a NAT gateway. Anyway, we are learning. We said that we might need to spend a few dollars on the learning process, or just deploy your EC2 instance on the public subnet. It's fine. If you understand why you're doing that, it's fine for us. I'm good with questions.
Does anybody implemented CI or CD for any group?
We'll ask what is CI?
Don't really have time to.
Okay, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
There were other priorities. Okay. I think that's it. Just one last question. Can you explain how your solution is scaling in terms of host, like quickly? If you spin up, let's say 100 containers in host 1, and you have a high CPU usage, like 90%, but the customers keep coming. So what will happen with your solution? Does it scale somehow, or?
It will explode.
Explode.
You mean on the auto-scaling group?
Yeah, it can be.
No, we don't have the CloudWatch to monitor.
Okay, so how's your scaling group actually? It is. How did you set up the auto scaling group?
It's probably in the ECS, I guess. Yep.
Okay, what's desired max and min?
Oh, this is we just put one as a minimum and maximum.
One.
Yeah, just one. Yeah, just to run, as cheap as possible for now.
Okay. Okay.
What is that? What each one of them does?
That's for the auto-scaling for the instances.
Yes.
Desired capacity is in the so the auto-scaling group will try to make the instance in the desired capacity number. But max size is when, for example, there's quite a lot of traffic coming in. it will be so it won't.
It will increase into a maximum number.
Yeah.
So it doesn't go over it, and the minimum size is the minimum required to run at least, you know, one or whatever you need. You need at least 10. You keep 10 as desired, or 15. I mean, sorry, 10 as minimum, 15 as desired, and 50 as the maximum.
It's just missing the auto-scaling policy, so.
Yeah, we are not measuring the
Okay.
the CPU. I don't think we have it, right? We don't have how much when it's going to scale.
No, just if it dies.
Yeah.
The health check.
Yeah, we don't have a health check.
Is it just the health check that you need? Okay, let's say we create a health check now that your instance it's being checked if it's working or not.
No, we need something else to tell when they're gonna scale or not. Like the how they call it. We've created it in one of the activities.
Alerting.
Sorry. Okay, now
Is it
CloudWatch
related?
alerted your instance it's getting a lot of traffic. then you wake up and log into your AWS account, and what you do?
Pay the bill.
It's going to be the same because you haven't changed anything.
Yeah, so you have is that on CloudWatch? So you have to set up like a threshold, and then it will. So you have to set up like a trigger to create a new instance. Can't really remember.
What do you need to do to create this new instance?
There's something that will do the actual action.
Yeah. Yeah, the trigger. No?
Yeah.
The trigger.
What is it called? You remember?
Oh, I don't know. I forgot the name.
Starts with A.
Good guess. You're right.
What is your suggestion? Sorry, Adriana. What is your suggestion? Go for it.
I think it's the source which is in charge of it is the load balancer.
How?
Because once you've got, we can like put inside of your auto scaling your load balancer, and they will create they will create if you need more or if you don't need more. So they can it's able to.
Is there a scaling policy?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I just Googled.
Either the load balancer.
Google is your friend, man.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
70% my time.
We didn't say you couldn't use it.
Yeah.
So was I wrong?
The load balancer will trigger the scaling policies as well, same as the CloudWatch.
Okay.
But what actually does the auto scaling is the scaling policies based on CloudWatch metrics.
So we need to write two policies, one to go up and one to go down, or
yep.
Okay.
Not two policies. You're right.
Yeah.
Great.
Those kind of discussions are nice because we learn how to troubleshoot and how things works and how they connect to each other.
Yeah.
So do we tell them that we have two news for you guys, a bad and a good one?
And Heaven, you can stop sharing before you, I don't know, access something that we shouldn't see, like secrets, like I did.
Should we start with the bad one?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, bad one always first.
Oh.
Missing requirements. Solution not working. It was a good thing afterwards. I think you guys learned a lot. I think it was a good exercise. And the good news is that you have 4 more weeks to complete your exercise. Are you going
Not
to
sure if it's a good news as well.
Now work on it?
But it's associated with a bad news.
Yeah.
It needs to be 100% fitting in the requirements of project 1.
Yeah, I mean, we are not moving on with project 2 at this stage because we feel that all the groups are missing some things that we think is important. If you just throw the project 2, you guys gonna probably just have similar issues and probably won't complete everything as well, right? So the idea is to have just this project 1 completed as a full. So everything that is missing, everything that is not working correctly, CI/CD. You guys need to have a CI/CD in place. It's a good learning, and we think it's important. So that's why we decided to just keep project 1 running, and you guys have 4 more weeks. Hopefully, you guys going to be able to work those 4 weeks, not only the 3 days before the delivery.
Yeah, based on that, the deadline will be on the Sunday before the last class. It's not on the day of the class. So Sunday midnight, I don't know what day it is. Let me check so we can send on the channel later.
Yeah.
On the Sunday before the last class at midnight, we're gonna remove your access from your repository, because then we have time to actually run your codes and have more a better idea of your work. So don't leave for the last time. I think we provided quite a good feedback for all your solutions. If you have taken notes during this session, you have an idea what you need to work on. No one have touched on the CI/CD, and that by itself, it's a lot of work to get done. So you guys have lots of things to keep doing on these 4 weeks. Don't subestimate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't forget to go through the requirements, and one of them is about security. So I know for testing purposes, you've done a lot of open rules like secure groups and NECLs. You need to close it and thinking reducing the blast radius, like the number of public IPs that you have. So if you've done your WordPress applications running on public subnets, you should consider moving them to private subnets and having just load balancer on the public subnet. And encryption at rest and in transit as well. So certificates to use HTTPS and, well, other security measures. I don't think for now we are going to give you all the tasks, but just focus on the requirements and try to think about the solution end to end, right?
Based on the needs feedbacks that we didn't give you guys the tasks, and you guys, it was hard for you guys to get together what you need to do. If you struggle for let's say until Friday max, I wouldn't even say earlier than that, before than that. If you struggle to understand what you need to do next, come to us and ask. Let's do some meetings and discuss what needs to be done to get this completed. And then once you get cards to work on, focus on what is on the cards. Don't look to the other cards. Get that card done.
And make usage of the acceptance criteria and the definition of the cards. I've seen a lot of people. I'm working on the ECS, and it was working on the load balancer and was working on the EFS. You need to focus on the card that you are working on. Make sure that before you start something else, you get that card into a working status, ready for review in the repository. And yeah, and if there is something in the peer review, before you pick something from the backlog, just go review that code. I mean, you need to make things move to the right as fast as possible. A lot of cards in review or in the work in progress is a bad idea. So things need to move to the right as fast as and don't keep on the whip as you can.
Yeah. And don't break master, and
don't break master.
And if there's something to review, think it's something less to rebase afterwards when I open my PR. So just keep reviewing and merging. It's going to be easier for you when you're going to open your PR and you don't need to keep rebasing and synchronizing with other people's work.
Think about the portfolio thing. It's something that will be on your GitHub, on our area DevOps. Everyone, like for continue the company that we work for, every time that we are going to do an interview, I'm gonna look on GitHub and see if the person has some code, so I can have a feeling of how they do code, if they are active on open source projects and those kind of things. It's always good indication. So it's some way of starting your portfolio on GitHub. It's really good, really important.
Another thing that I would like to add that I didn't mention before was because I felt like quite lost how far I could go. For example, I was working on ACS, but ACS has like the service and task, and I didn't know how far I you know what I mean? If I should if I should have done the task at that time or not. So I know it's quite difficult to put all those things together and try to wrap it up, but
Did you
I don't know, maybe. Huh?
Did you ask us that?
Yes, I did. But before that, I just read I read a lot of things, and I was completely lost, and what I'm doing, how those things is gonna be connected.
It's about agile. Your focus should be in meeting the definition of done and the acceptance criteria. If it's not clear, it's not your problem. There is the PO and other roles to clarify this. So if it's unclear, just ask us. We are doing this product owner role, and we can clarify the definition of done and acceptance criteria, but it should be all there, and you just focus on achieving that before closing the ticket.
Yeah, when you get a card, a good question is, Kyle, what do you need me to do to think this is done, it's complete, and do that. Don't need to look if it's need anything else. It's our job. It's the three of us job to check what needs to be done and tell you guys through the cards. But I think it would be nice to leave you guys few days, not much. As I said, I would think even before this Friday to talk about to talk within the team and discuss what do you think needs to be done to complete before we come up and help you guys to finalize that.
As you noticed, today we're not going to have any new content, but next class we are going to go through serverless and some AWS services. And there will be some exercises from the next class. We'll try to do, it's not going to be a project, but we'll try to do one exercises that uses several services together, like API Gateway, Lambdas, and DynamoDB. So you can create an API, run it in the Lambda, process it in Lambda, and start something in DynamoDB just to have the end-to-end flow. It's not going to be a big project, probably just one API endpoint. But yeah, so don't leave everything for this project one for the last 2 weeks. Try to finish that this week or the next one. Yeah.
That's a good point. Try to have as a deadline for next Tuesday. There's nothing new from today, so you guys have the 2 weeks ahead. It's plenty of time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys have any questions?
How can I change my background?
Well, you can use Zoom, or there's another option, is Snap Camera.
Snap camera, yeah.
It's
Snap camera, really?
yeah, it's an app that you download for Mac OS, for example.
Yeah, I don't think it works for Linux. So
No.
you need to do that through,
Okay.
through Zoom.
Okay. In Zoom, there's the video, right? If you click on the arrow in the right side, there is choose virtual background.
Yep.
You can upload an image.
Close to your microphone, there is a stop video. So there is an arrow that you can change the choose virtual background.
Just have select camera in video setting.
Why my background work crazy like that?
Marcy. Your background.
Yeah, oh, that's
so
the
good.
camera. It's if it sees if you are too ugly, it just
yeah, then just disappear everything.
Invisible man.
Okay, yeah, invisible man. Cool.
I guess depends on how bright is your background.
It depends on your computer, your camera as well.
You have the same color for your wall.
We still have 30 minutes left.
No, Marcio, I think you have I have a green screen.
Yeah, it could be that as well. Yes.
Yeah, you look like your wall.
I couldn't understand Christina.
Just have to uncheck the I have a green screen when you choose the virtual background. Like if you choose I have a green screen, then it will be like this.
Look.
Did you find it, Adriana?
No, I don't. Where is it?
And your
settings. See your microphone when you turn off your video.
There is
an arrow.
Yes.
Yes. Arrow.
So the options that I have is like video settings.
Yeah,
and
Denise.
Yeah, same as me, Adriana. I have the same. Maybe you have to update.
Yeah, no, it's because it's not enabled for you guys on a dashboard or on a main dashboard in Zoom. Just go there in video and enable background. You show here for you guys.
But that's okay, guys. So you can keep it going with the AWS.
I had a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Just kind of like your day-to-day stuff, kind of like you know how you watch the day in the life of a DevOps guy or a software engineer. I was just thinking, for example, when you get approached by a client and they want to deploy something like this, do you already have like kind of pre-configured scripts or tasks that you have that you're like, all right, this customer wants high availability website with an EFS, they want it in containers, done. The only thing I need to fill in is just their requirements, and then that's it, deploy. I was like, is that kind of how it works when your day-to-day stuff, or just curious?
Yeah. I will try to reuse as much as possible of my existing codes. So why I'm going to recreate a VPC module on Terraform for each client, because it's the same. That's why we put variables there. So when the client changes, the CDR changes, my requirements for NECLs, those kind of things change, I'll just update the variables and try to make the module as modular as possible. Who of you guys have actually grabbed code from the Terraform website and pasted and then changed the values instead of actually going and looking for examples that it's kind of already done some parts? Reusing code.
Yeah.
Very minimal. There is I like to think that if I'm trying to do something and I can't, I'm probably doing wrong. And I can't find an example on the internet, I'm probably doing it in the wrong way. I should stop, go for a walk, come back and think in a different way, because I'm probably doing wrong.
Yeah, cool.
Especially with AWS. Not with GCP, but with AWS is pretty true.
Yeah.
Everything on Google, everything is there.
And thinking about modularizing the solution, for example, the solution for group one, but for any group, well, you're exposing a Docker container that exposes a web application, right? That runs in a port and needs some kind of storage. So this is the profile of how many applications, right? How many applications they do exactly this? They can run in a container, exposing a port, and they need to map to a file system. So this could be a platform. It could be a pattern. So we are doing WordPress, but if you expose the right variables and modularize it in a way that's fully reusable, you could run an application. If I say I want to run Nginx and I want to map to /data folder, I could use exactly the same solution and I will have ECS, Fargate, and everything done. So you don't need to do it again.
Cool. That's pretty interesting. So for example, say if you're starting out in DevOps as like a junior, and then you have like seniors, would they be like, this is our repository of environments we usually create on the often, you know, you can kind of work with these, or how does that kind of work when you, as you're starting out? Do you get shared source code that's used amongst the team, or?
Let me see if I understood the question.
Yeah,
Like shared code, like, well, the team was there, right? They were working, they were creating the modules. Probably they have a fully working solution and just joined the team. So the first thing is, how do you get started? So do they have any documentation on that? The documentation on the READMEs and diagrams is enough? It should be. And so you just get started on the pattern they're following. Maybe they're not following Three Musketeers, so you need to understand what's happening there. They will have their own CI/CD pipelines, probably following a pattern, so you need to understand that pattern. We are presenting a way of doing things, but depending on the project, if it's a brownfield, you get things that are already existing and running. So I think you just need to learn what exists, but think outside the box. If you can modularize something, if you can create new pipelines to make things easier, or apply Three Musketeers, like you learned this approach here, it's a nice one, and you'll find probably a lot of pipelines and automations that doesn't use it. So just go and propose to the team you joined. People will appreciate you presenting this new idea, even if they don't adopt it.
If you still don't think Three Musketeers is something that we actually use on our day-to-day, yesterday I've done a presentation for 35 people in a team for one of the biggest banks in Australia, using your class from last class, your content from last class.
Cool.
I have one question regarding to the project, because we are doing supposedly migration, but we are actually creating a new, installing a new WordPress and database. How do you normally do when you do the migration?
Migration of database
and WordPress.
Normally it has two ways of doing. So the first one is the most basic one, and probably the most recommended one, depends on the customer, is actually stopping everything, taking a snapshot of the database that is running on the old environment, restoring the database on the new environment, and then starting everything again. So that's the most traditional way, and there's no room for error on that because the application is not running. But sometimes you are dealing with an application that can't stop, so you can't shut down everything and do the backup and restore of the database. So you could potentially set up something that syncs. So you have the old database running, the new one running, and they are doing a sync between them. And then once you are happy with that, you just update your DNS records to start running on the new application. That is a much more harder environment to do. It's normally quite a big challenge to do that. If you guys want to, I think you have enough requirements for that. That's why we didn't ask to recover a snapshot from the database. So as you said, it's a migration, but it's kind of a new application. But the idea would be, instead of starting from a blank state of database that you need to go through the wizard, starting from a database that maybe has already some posts or something like that. Don't know if answer your question.
Yes, it is. Thanks.
And the AWS has a service called DBMS, which is database migration services that does exactly what Kyle said in terms of replicating two databases between each other for this kind of cases. And you can even migrate from, I don't know, Oracle to MySQL or Microsoft SQL to MySQL or to Aurora. So it even can convert schemas and different database types as well. So it's pretty nice too.
Yeah, it depends on the scenario. If you have like petabytes of data, literally you need to send your data by truck to AWS. So you just offload on premises and you send your data and they upload there directly.
I have a question.
It depends if you have a connectivity on-prem with AWS or not. It depends on the scenario.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Can we do that automatically, as we are doing by code, as infrastructure as a code, or not yet?
Do what automatically?
The migration, the database migration.
It's not very common to automate things like that because it's not something that you do every day or every week or every month. So the effort to automate a few things like that might not be worth for the case. You can pretty much create all or most of the resources to replicate and to do things like that through a script, which is you can reuse later. But yeah, it will depend on your use case. I would say that most of the case you don't automate those kinds of things unless you're really gonna plan to reuse that in the future for different environments or for different applications.
Okay.
But yeah, you can automate everything with Bash, with Make, with yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What do you guys think? We still have 20 minutes left. What do you guys think on we finish this one up and then you can join again as a group and then just spend these last 20 minutes discussing a little bit?
Yeah, at least to
just
break
to
down
make clear-
tasks. I think it's a good idea.
When it's gonna be the last day to present the project?
Present is on the last class, which is
Probably 24 of
on
May.
the
12, 26.
But
so
the code,
you guys, 24.
On the code
24 should be everything on master. The 24th of May. So anything that is not on master won't get into master after 24 midnight.
Yeah, on the 25th of May, exactly at midnight, we are gonna remove your access from the repository.
That means that we're not gonna have a second project, or
no second project.
Yeah.
No, but you have the exercise from the next class.
We rather have a complete end-to-end automated first project in place than we just start another one that we might not able to finish again end-to-end automation. I think it's a good learning. You guys had quite a good feedback today. We discussed quite a lot of what needs to be done. There's still plenty of work to keep working on.
What is the second project about?
It was about serverless.
Really?
But you still have the exercise.
Oh, the content's there. You can go for it.
You can go to the project. If you really can go after, it's just that we think that it's more important to have everything.
Yeah, sure. When you say serverless, it's serverless framework like creating functions, Lambda functions, and working on your local. Okay.
Yeah, functions are as services, and managed services like DynamoDB and SQS, SNS, services that you don't need to worry about the servers they run on, but just the functionality they are providing. Okay. So we are going to see Lambda API Gateway, DynamoDB, and I think that's it. If we have time, SNS, SQS, but I don't think so. I think we should focus on API Gateway, Lambda, and DynamoDB. SNS and SQS, you can just read the docs and work with them. They are simple.
We also have KMS as well.
KMS, well, KMS and perimeter store from SSM, you needed to use it before us presenting it. But we are going to touch on that.
That's going to be the last content. The last class won't have any new contents. We're going to use again. We're going to do a big session to present do the presentations again, go through feedback, and then try to have maybe a half an hour session on like what is next for you guys, what you can do after this.
Okay.
Without beer.
We can have a beer, virtual beer.
Yeah, you can have your beer. It's fine, man. You're allowed to.
Yeah, I hope the lockdown is reduced from stage 3 to 2, so we can do a get together.
Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. It's looking good, guys. So finger crossed.
Looking forward to be able to celebrate the course with all you guys together. Cool. Let's spend these last minutes talking about the debriefing, this whole thing. And I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thank you.
All right.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Get
guys.
together and yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Have a good night.